It was an interim committee hearing. So
Economic Affairs Interim Committee, I think is what it was called.
yeah. And so Montana doesn't go, their state legislature doesn't go back into session until January. So this is like leading up to what's going to happen in January. But you guys need to watch and see the shit show for yourself.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I don't know. It's just so insane what some of these reps will say out of their mouths. It really is.
Yeah, it truly is. Okay, I'm going to hit play. Lock in and enjoy the ride.
Sup, Super?
Economic Affairs will come back from recess. Mr. Weaver, our next agenda item.
Chair Committee, the next agenda item is review of provisional drafts related to Kratom. So in your folders, you will have two provisional drafts, PD 0003 and PD 0004. If you look at PD 0003, this is related to banning of Kratom. This includes Kratom, well, specifically mitragynine and hydroxymitragynine under Schedule 1 of the Montana Controlled Substances Act. So as you look at PD 0003 and you turn to page 2, you'll see down there on line 27, hydroxymitragynine, and then on page 3 on line 9, mitragynine have both been added, and then of course there's a bunch of, because it's a list, it's bumped a bunch of other things down. But that's essentially the only changes there, the only amendments for 50 TAC 32222, which is adding mitragynine, hydroxymitragynine to Schedule 1. PD 0004 is essentially a rewrite of HB 407 minus a couple of minor language changes relative to the bill drafting manual. This should be exactly like what you've seen presented before for HB 407.2, which was presented in the 2025 session. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. We will move into public comment, and the public comment will be for both of these bills, and then we will have committee discussion. I imagine we'll take a voice vote on both of these bills at the end of public comment and at the end of committee discussion. So with that, members that are on Zoom, if you would please raise your hands. That's the easiest way for me to see, and we will proceed. So with that, we'll start with public testimony in the room, and please, I guess, keep it as concise as possible and try not to repeat too much of the testimony that has already been repeated. So with that, public testimony in the room.
Good afternoon, Chairman Lear, other board members, both here and online. My name is Jay Yeager. My last name is spelled Y-E-A-G-E-R. I'm your neighbor from Billings. I have been a resident of Montana for 20 plus years. I'm just an average dad. I stand before you, or rather sit before you today, requesting this committee come together and support a total ban on Kratom. I, like you, have listened to grieving parents and heard countless stories of death and addiction caused by Kratom. But I've also experienced firsthand the devastation this so-called natural drug has caused. On more than one occasion, I've held my son in my arms while he suffered from withdrawal.
Uh-oh.
My bad, I was muted.
Oh.
Is it doing that glitchy thing?
I don't know, because I was posted on TikTok, so I was not paying attention. Anybody watching? Is it glitching out?
Kathleen, super. Doing the glitchy thing.
Kathleen, super, help us. If it is, I can try it on mine.
Why does it do that from my end?
I don't know. Like I was saying, it's like one of us, at least it doesn't happen at the same time, knock on wood.
It's like beforehand, you used to not be able to,
I know, ever.
and now it's my end.
I got the percolator over here.
Let me try to play it again.
Sweating profusely, shaking and vomiting for hours. I thought I lost him one night when I could not wake him up. My wife and I have tried everything to help him, but nothing was working. What began at a kava bar evolved into a full-blown addiction to kratom and eventually 7-OH. His mother and I have spent over $50,000 getting him professional help here in Montana, but it didn't work. I had no idea what kratom was, or 7-OH for that matter, and as I became more educated on the subject, I began to realize we have an epidemic that is growing across the United States. My son warned me more drugs would follow and make their way into Montana, and he was right. He told me the industry will change the product's name, the packaging, or the ingredients, and they will continue to produce synthetic drugs as long as we allow it. It's not just 7-OH and MG15 anymore. Montana is now selling MG16, thiameptine, cat's claw, and other drugs that are more powerful than morphine. And believe it or not, the industry admits to this addiction and offers an alternative to a cyst called SR17. Keep in mind, this drug's only been tested on mice, but it's being sold here in Montana. I think we can all agree that kratom comes from a plant, just like the poppy seed and the cocoa leaf. The plant's grown overseas and exported into the United States, often disguised as fertilizer, health supplements, or some other false front. Kratom's never shipped into the United States, identified as kratom itself. The crazy part of this story is none of the countries that export kratom to the U.S. allow it for sale in their own country. Once kratom gets into the United States, it's processed into various forms, tablets, drinks, powders, gummies, with no government oversight or testing. MedicalExpress.com reported 85% of kratom ingredients conflicted with what was on the label. Our entire United States military has placed a ban on kratom, and the DEA is seeking to make kratom a Schedule I drug. Many states have already recognized the dangers of opioid consumption and have banned it in its entirety. Most recently, North Dakota has placed an emergency ban on kratom and its counterparts. Our law enforcement personnel across the country have limited means to detect kratom, even though at high doses the drug causes you to slip into a coma state. I know this because my son totaled 3 vehicles. The last accident resulted in him taking out a guardrail on the highway and flipping the vehicle on its rooftop. The only way out of the truck was to crawl out the passenger window. He was lucky to be alive.
It is a little glitchy.
The ambulance crew on the scene checked him out, and the highway patrol gave him a ride home after that when he convinced them that he had fallen asleep.
Let me see where
I later found 7-OH.
Started at 6:39, hour 6:39. Can't deal with that. Can't do it.
You said hour 6?
Yeah, hour 6:39.
Oh. Okay.
Ooh, look at our lovely profile pictures. Fun fact, my profile picture was made by that Susan Cave chick that testified in Georgia earlier.
Fun fact.
Fun fact. So you have the levels of petty. They go.
Yeah. Okay, let's see how mine works. I hope it works.
Various forms, tablets, drinks, powders, gummies, with no government oversight or testing. MedicalExpress.com reported 85% of kratom ingredients conflicted with what was on the label. Our entire United States military has placed a ban on kratom, and the DEA is seeking to make kratom a Schedule I drug. Many states have already recognized the dangers of opioid consumption and have banned it in its entirety. Most recently, North Dakota has placed an emergency ban on kratom and its counterparts. Our law enforcement personnel across the country have limited means to detect kratom, even though at high doses the drug causes you to slip into a coma state. I know this because my son totaled 3 vehicles. The last accident resulted in him taking out a guardrail on the highway and flipping the vehicle on its rooftop. The only way out of the truck was to crawl out the passenger window. He was lucky to be alive. The ambulance crew on the scene checked him out, and the highway patrol gave him a ride home after that when he convinced them that he had fallen asleep. I later found 7OH packaging in the truck when I went to the salvage yard to investigate the damage. I'm what some might call lucky. I'm lucky because my son's alive today. I get to hold him, get to speak to him, and help him on his journey away from this drug. Other parents have not been so fortunate. All they have left are memories and despair with the hope someone's listening and willing to take the steps to prevent more anguish on others. My son's now been under professional medical care for several months using Suboxone to cure the addiction that kratom caused. After placing a medical strip under his tongue twice a day for many months, he graduated to getting a shot in his stomach. This shot is a time-release capsule that's embedded into his skin like some futuristic tracking device. He's taken 2 of these shots so far, and he has 1 more to go before he can complete this treatment. Some of you might ask, why? Why, Jay, would you take the time and stand before us today? Why not walk away? I'll tell you why. I've experienced this devastation firsthand. I've seen it evolve from drinking kava into a full-on opioid addiction. I've felt the pain of other parents that have lost their loved ones, and it all dumbfounds me. Clearly, we have a growing epidemic in America, and we need to do what we can to protect Montana. How can we allow the sale of any drug, herb or otherwise, that has not been approved by our own federal agencies? It's not right, and it doesn't make sense to me. How can I walk away? How can you walk away? Please, don't apply lipstick to this pig we call kratom by trying to regulate it. Future generations will have to live with our decisions, or will they? Do what's right and within your power as a committee member, and join me and many others in support of a total ban on kratom and its counterparts. I appreciate all you do to protect the citizens of Montana, and I'm truly grateful for your time today. Thanks for listening and considering what I've had to say.
Thank you. Further public comment in the room?
Chairman Lear, members, Amanda Cahill, last name Cahill, here today on behalf of Confluence Public Health Alliance, which is composed of a collective membership that encompasses the local health and environmental health workforce, including each county's health officer, health department staff, sanitarian, and nearly every local health department in the state. Here today to really talk through both of these proposals. Public Health is here in support, of course, of the full ban. With permission, I do have a couple handouts. I ran out of ink, so I only have a couple copies of the fiscal note. But what you will see in these handouts, one is, and I sent all of these to you on email to try to lessen the paper burden, but one is the map of all of the states that have banned kratom altogether. There is another map in that link that you can go to see the many more states that have banned synthetic or 7OH or these emerging products. And so that is a really good resource. It can really dig down into what exactly each state has done. And if you look on pages 2 and 3 of that handout, you'll see state by state what they have taken care of or not. Again, Public Health does support the draft 003 that would ban this product altogether. We have a lot of concerns on the Kratom Protection Act. It is a vehicle really to legitimize kratom in Montana, and while it does provide a few restrictions, it doesn't go very far at all in any public health protections or frameworks. So we would have many suggestions and requests for amendments to that bill should the committee choose to move forward. I think the version that's in front of you that matches HB 407 that died in session last time is a bit of a non-starter. It died last time. The fiscal note that I handed out does put a lot of financial burden on taxpayers to go ahead and regulate and legitimize a product in Montana that, frankly, I don't think we're sure should be legitimized out there, and learning more about that every day. The funny thing when you start working in this space is, and I'm sure this happens to you all the time, you start getting more and more stories. I've had 3 calls in the last week from medical providers to tell me that children, so 2 in Missoula, 1 in Helena, got a hold of parent kratom pills and overdosed and had to be brought into the hospital emergently. And so we are hearing more of these stories every day. With that, again, lots of amendment ideas for draft 004 if the committee is willing to hear those. But with that, I'll close for now, and I'm happy to stand for questions.
Further public comment in the room?
About time we got some seating. This is great. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Hensley, Hensley, for the record. I am here on behalf of a couple of clients. The first is the Montana Academy of Physician Assistants, and we also have a couple of PAs who specialize in substance abuse, substance use disorders. They were not aware that you guys were running so ahead of schedule, as efficient as you were today. So they will probably get here a little late. I am going to encourage them to take any opportunity of public comment that they have outside of this window, and I'm hopeful that you'll allow it. Long story short, the physician's assistants that I've spoken to in the association are seeing addiction to the leaf teas and are helping folks get off of those leaf teas. I am not a medical provider, so I'll let them get into the details of how that happens, but I do want to stress that it is happening, addictive issues. Second client I'm in front of you today for is Fidelity Diagnostics Laboratory. So they're a cannabis testing laboratory. They do not do kratom testing, but as we were reading over this draft copy, I was heartened to see that in the regulatory 004 language, you did include testing, which is great and has been their ask all along. Just a couple of points I wanted to elevate to maybe finesse the testing a bit, if that is the way your committee wants to go. Under Section 3 is where most of the testing language is. So I noticed that heavy metals were included in the prohibited contaminants, as well as other biological contaminants, which would be things like mold. But there's no mention of pesticides, so you might want to consider the inclusion of pesticides because as written, the department may run into problems trying to promulgate rule around pesticide inclusion. And as we know, in any organic crop, there is pesticides in use in varying quantities. You want to make sure that those don't get into a human. Second issue is I found it mildly confusing to differentiate between the retailer and the processor because the restrictions are upon the processor, not the retailer. So a processor may not prepare, distribute, sell, or expose a kratom product that, and then you get to the testing language. And then it defines kratom product, blah, 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 including a kratom beverage prepared and sold in food establishments. So that begs a question, is the employee of a kratom retailer a kratom processor? And if so, are they also restricted by Section 3? So that was a little confusing for me. Maybe some cleanup around there. It could be as easy as saying a processor or retailer may not prepare, distribute, sell, something like that. But I just wanted to elevate that. You may also run into issues with the words trace amounts What we have learned in conversations with the department and their excellent scientific staff in cannabis is that unless it's actually defined, trace amount is such a squishy term depending on which testing standard you use and which testing protocol you use, so that may need some language attention as well. Happy to sit at the table while those massages are made if this is the direction you all decide to go, but I did want to bring that up on the record. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Further discussion in the room, or sorry, not discussion, public testimony in the room.
Chairman Lehrer, members of the committee, my name is Matt Salmon, and I serve as the chairman of the American Kratom Association. And I testify before you today having a unique perspective. I've sat where you are. I was a state senator from Arizona and then served 10 years in the U.S. House of Representatives. In fact, I was there when the DEA back in 2016 initially thought of scheduling kratom. Thanks for the opportunity to testify. This is a very, very important issue. I'd like to state for the record that the American Kratom Association supports strong regulations on product formulations, federal standards for labeling all botanical supplements, and age restriction at 21 and over to purchase, and good enforcement tools. We disagree, however, with the recommendation that the legislature enact a ban on all kratom products from the sale in Montana. In 2016, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, as I mentioned before, recommended a similar measure for the scheduling of natural kratom under the Federal Controlled Substances Act, relying on much of the same or similar evidence referenced in the executive order. On October 13, 2016, the DEA, in an unprecedented move that has not been replicated before or since, formally withdrew the FDA's recommendation to schedule kratom nationally and asked the FDA to provide a more complete scientific assessment, commonly referred to as the 8-factor analysis, to document the risks for consumers. The FDA's new 8-factor analysis was reviewed by then HHS Assistant Secretary for Health, Dr. Brett Giroir, and rejected because, in the words of Dr. Giroir, that its submission was based on embarrassingly poor evidence and data and a failure to consider the overall public health. We believe the legislature should be guided by those decisions and what has transpired since to support a strong regulatory framework that will allow consumers the freedom to make informed choices of natural kratom leaf products that are safely formulated, labeled properly, and age-restricted, while at the same time banning chemically manipulated 7-OH opioids. We support that. On July 29, 2025, then FDA Commissioner McCary, HHS Secretary Kennedy made the clear and much-needed distinction between the chemically manipulated 7-OH pseudodoxil, MGM-15 and MGM-16 opioids that pose a true health concern to the public. This is what they said. These actions are not intended to regulate natural leaf kratom that does not contain enhanced levels of 7-OH. Although 7-OH occurs naturally in trace amounts in the kratom plant, scheduling 7-OH above a certain threshold level does not intend to capture the kratom botanical leaf in the present temporary scheduling recommendation, end of quotes. Why the regulations are important to protect consumers in the marketing of natural kratom leaf products. While the two FDA recommendations for scheduling, we believe that scheduling of 7-OH is going to happen by the end of this week. That is our understanding. They've been talking about it for quite some time. They've got a little bit of language to work out. But contrary to what was said in one of the past testimonies, there is no thought at all of regulating natural kratom leaf products. While the two FDA recommendations for scheduling and resubmitted in 2018 did not meet the 8-factor criteria for scheduling, the FDA staff identified reports of serious adverse effects and deaths that could not have logically been directly attributable to natural kratom leaf products, but likely were due to adulterated kratom products that were on the market. When we investigated the problem, it became clear, very clear, that the highly concentrated extract products were on the market that had dangerously concentrated metrogynin metrogynin levels that can only be achieved by using very powerful industrial solvents. Extraction is not new in the food or dietary supplement world. It's a process that is used to eliminate microbial contamination in some dietary and botanical supplement products and to standardize the actual serving size for more predictability for consumers. If a requirement were imposed for extraction of kratom using only FDA food-grade solvents, a process that is well-defined in pharmaceutical standards called that established limits in USP 467, you limit the ability to concentrate the plant material and create a far more potent product that carries with it all the increased risks for adverse events and potential death. There were some kratom manufacturers who defended the adulteration of natural kratom leaf products using dangerous solvents, who also disclosed they could use a chemical process to flip the trace amounts of 7-OH in the natural plant to a 7-OH dominant product with signature effects of full-blown opioids. There's a big difference, and we want that distinction to be clearly noted. This was simply a group of bad actor manufacturers who chose profits over consumer safety. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, identified in 2019 that postmortem toxicology testing protocols were not documented and varied among and within the states. Despite that warning, no changes have been made, and so-called kratom-related deaths are poorly documented and lack the needed rigor in these evaluations. The CDC report referenced additional testing on kratom-only deaths using more precise tools not typically used by medical examiners and coroners, revealed all tested involved polydrug use. It is critical to view these reports of kratom-only deaths when correct testing tools are used. Importantly, grieving family members who reported death where only natural kratom was detected based on toxicology screening given to them by a medical examiner should be respected. The grief is real, and no one should doubt their sincerity. However, a tox screen will not distinguish between a truly natural kratom leaf product and a deliberately spiked, adulterated product. For example, from 2016 to 21, there were unscrupulous vendors that were manipulating kratom extracts by using powerful industrial chemicals that are not allowed for any botanical material. That's why we recommend limiting extracts derived from FDA approval food-grade solvents. In the same way, during COVID deaths, there were a lot of misclassifications by medical professionals, coroners, and medical examiners. Same thing's happening when kratom is detected in a toxicology screening report during an autopsy. I've got other written words, but I just want to state this. This is a substance that has been a lifesaver for a lot of folks, including a lot of veterans. And I will tell you that we, like many of the people that have testified today, we grieve with those families. But we want to make sure that the real culprit is the one that is punished. I want to close with this. The FDA itself did studies on kratom, natural kratom leaf. They gave up to 20 times the recommended dosage, and they came away with a report that it is safe at all levels. And so, and that is a report directly out of the FDA. Members of the committee, I'd like to ask you to use every bit of thought process you possibly can to do the right thing. Get rid of the bad actors. Let's regulate this to make sure that only safe kratom leaf products are out there. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. It would be bad policy, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Further public comment in the room? When the green, there you go. When the green light's on, you're good to go.
Okay. I apologize for coming in here like with my hair on fire. I literally just got done seeing patients. So,
No apology necessary. We're ahead of schedule, and we appreciate you attending.
thank goodness. Okay, for the record, my name is Megan Zawacki, Z-A-W-A-C-K-I. I am a PA that works over at St. Peter's Health. I'm actually the assistant director of the Addiction Medicine Clinic. There's only 2 of us, but still, I'm the assistant to the regional manager. I'm also here representing the Montana Academy of PAs and the Society for Addiction Medicine PAs, which is a national academy that is representing the interests of all addiction medicine PAs across the United States. So, one of the reasons I'm running late is my last patient of the day just happens to be completely addicted to kratom. And it took us a long time to figure out what to do with him. And it's not my first time seeing him, it's my 5th time seeing him, because every time we gain a little ground with getting him off of Suboxone, or off of the kratom by using buprenorphine or Suboxone films, he runs out of films, and he goes back and buys more kratom. And then we start all over again with horrible withdrawals every time he's out of kratom. So I usually only see him when he's down to his last day of his substance. Luckily for me, with the recent changes, he bought his last supply as much as he could afford, working his 2 jobs, and he made an appointment with me knowing that I only have this many days until I am completely out of this substance, and I know how horrible the withdrawals feel. He shared with me today and asked me to share with all of you that he is a recovering alcoholic, and he would go through alcohol withdrawal 10 times over rather than risk going through kratom withdrawal ever again, because it is that incredibly painful for him. So let me tell you a little bit about what I am seeing in my clinic here in Helena. We pulled our records for our urine drug screens. Our urine drug screens are very specialized. They do pick up kratom or 7-OH. And in our studies, we saw back in 2024, when we started testing for kratom products in our patients' urine, we had 3.5% of our patients test positive for kratom. Obviously, none of this is prescribed, so it's just a substance that we find incidentally on their urine drug screens. It gives us an opportunity to talk about what else we could be doing to keep them healthy, because mixing kratom with anything else is not safe, and going through kratom withdrawal is incredibly painful, as I have said. We rescreened and got our results from March of 2025 through April of 2026, and our numbers are up to 5.63% of our patients. Which in addiction medicine, we like to see those numbers go down, not up. Our alcohol use disorder patients have stayed the same. Our other opioid use disorders have stayed the same. The only one that has increased at this rate is methamphetamines. And that's not great. So let me tell you a little bit about how I get patients off of kratom or 7-OH. They come into me either already in withdrawal or, like my patient today, expecting withdrawal within the next few hours, and we start them on the only medication I can is buprenorphine. Buprenorphine is a partial opioid agonist. It will start taking over the receptors that the other opioids have been binding to, and then it can help decrease the withdrawal. Unfortunately, I am finding that kratom and 7-OH mimic fentanyl more than they mimic other opioids. So if I go too quickly, they go into what we call precipitated withdrawal, which means I cause their withdrawal. And the Suboxone comes in and knocks them down. I compare it to a ladder, so they're up at the top of the ladder. And when they're falling off the ladder, if I can catch them halfway, that feels a lot more comfortable than hitting the ground. If they're on the top of the ladder and they are not coming down the ladder and I suddenly yank them down the ladder, that feels a little bit more uncomfortable. If there's any OSHA people here, I'm sorry for that analogy. I wanted to talk about the cost of buprenorphine compared to the cost of kratom. Buprenorphine has a stable level, so when patients start using buprenorphine, we might need to go up on the dose, but there is not the tolerance that we see with the kratom and 7-OH-based substances. So when you're using 7-OH, you start using a little bit, and then you use a little bit more, and then you're needing it more frequently, you're needing higher potencies. So even if people started on a leaf, their tolerance goes up, their withdrawal symptoms get worse, they wind up using more product more frequently at higher potencies in order to combat those symptoms. When I get them on buprenorphine, that is not the case. They can stay on a stable level of buprenorphine as long as they want to. They will go into withdrawal if they abruptly stop the buprenorphine. So it doesn't stop the withdrawal process, it puts it on hold, but I have mechanisms in place that I can get them off of buprenorphine when they're ready, which is usually 6 to 12 months because we like their brains to have some recovery time. With the tolerance, we also see more side effects because using kratom at higher doses has different side effects than using kratom at lower doses. So when we're using at the lower doses, they might have a little bit of the opioid-like effect. They have pain relief, they feel relaxed. At the higher doses, they tend to feel more stimulated. And when we're using really high doses, very, very anxious, which is uncomfortable and oddly mimics opiate withdrawal. And we start this whole process all over again. We have seen cases of people overdosing on kratom products, and naloxone, which is Narcan that you squirt up somebody's nose when they're having an opiate withdrawal or having an opioid overdose, can be used in some circumstances, but it's not always an option because there are other side effects that go along with kratom use, like seizures. Narcan can't stop seizures, or liver failure, which nothing stops liver failure except stopping using things and getting a liver replacement. I'm sure that you guys will have 1.5 million questions, and I'm going to let my heart rate come down, and if you guys have any questions, I will be available for questions after. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Further public testimony in the room.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. E.J. Redding, R-E-D-D-I-N-G, here today on behalf of the Montana Kava and Kratom Association. MKKA is made up of manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, and retailers of Kava and Kratom products, mostly based in Yellowstone County, but all Montana-based companies. I don't want to mess with the steady clip and keeping you all ahead of schedule today. We have on the record in past meetings of the Economic Affairs Committee made our stance clear on the two proposed bill drafts. I think that the legislation from 25 can be even made more simple by just saying outright ban of all synthesized products, much like this body did regarding synthesized THC in 21 and clarifying in 23. And by removing the synthesized products from the market, we do away with the vast majority of problems that we have seen here. My biggest question still is enforcement and how do we do it. Those synthesized THC products that we have banned in Montana are still on shelves here. So a bigger overarching question with whatever we decide to do as a legislature, we need to pay attention to enforcement. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment in the room? Further public comment in the room? Seeing none, we'll move to public comment online. We'll start at the top. Kelly McCann. You are on mute. There you go. Thank you.
Hello. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kelly McCann, M-C-C-A-N-N, and I have shared about the loss of my son Benjamin to kratom with this committee several times, as well as most of Montana and many other states. I know I live this every day. So today I am my son's voice, and I'm also speaking in behalf of many other families who have been tragically impacted by kratom. Today you have two bills before you, one that would schedule kratom and one that would regulate it. I urge you to support the proposed ban bill. Regulation does not go far enough to protect Montana families from a substance that is already causing harm. The questions before you are straightforward. Has the research confirmed that kratom is safe? And FDA has not confirmed that kratom is safe. They did a pilot study, a dose-finding study, and that's just a preliminary study. And I can send that to you so you can see the results. And then, do the health agencies recommend is it safe for public use? Has regulation in other states actually protected people? If not, why should Montana believe regulation will protect our families here? These questions are not theoretical. My son is gone and other families are living with the same kind of loss. For families like mine, these questions have been answered repeatedly. I also ask you to consider that kratom has been treated as an adulterated product entering our country under false pretenses. With that in mind, is the Kratom Consumer Protection Act truly consumer protection, or is it a strategic way to legitimize the kratom market through legislation? The question now is whether Montana will legitimize kratom through regulation or act before more families are harmed. The bottom line is this: kratom is a psychoactive substance with incomplete research. It is being used medicinally without medical oversight and sold in gas stations, smoke shops, and online in unlimited quantities. The public health warnings about kratom did not begin with synthetic derivatives or new high-potency products. These products have made the situation more urgent, I agree, but the concerns were already there. The emergence of stronger derivatives should not be treated as a separate problem that excuses kratom. It is a result of action not taken 10 years ago. And today you have the opportunity to make that right. Please choose the bill that truly protects Montana families by scheduling kratom and preventing its accessibility in our communities and with our people. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. We'll now move to Caitlin Kuehman.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We've got you. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Caitlin Kuehman, and I am the Manager of Community Engagement at Rimrock Foundation in Billings, Montana. I'm also a person in long-term recovery. I'm here today as I support the complete ban of kratom in Montana. I don't believe that regulating it goes far enough. I want to share a number: 2,935. That's how many suspected drug overdose emergency department visits happened in Montana in 2025, and more than 600 involved opioids. Montana already understands the cost of addiction. We should use what we have learned to prevent the next problem, not wait until we're trying to contain it. And for me, this is also a personal issue. My brother, he recently shared his experience with kratom with me. He has gotten clean and sober from alcohol and used kratom occasionally for about a year. Then one day, in his words, I grabbed a kratom drink from the gas station. Occasional use became one every morning, two every afternoon, before bed, all day long. Within several months, he began waking with intense, painful restlessness in his arms. Then he noticed something frightening. Within about 30 minutes of drinking the kratom drink, the arm pain completely went away. That's when it clicked that something wasn't right. He developed a physical dependency on it. When he stopped, he experienced approximately 7 days of physical withdrawal and said it took 30 days before he felt even mentally and emotionally normal again. The withdrawal is comparable to that of heroin. But the sentence that I want you to remember is, I didn't realize how easily it crept in and how real the withdrawal became. That's why I do not believe the regulation is enough. Addiction doesn't care whether the substance came from a pharmacy, a dealer, a plant, or a gas station. The FDA continues to warn consumers about kratom because the risks include substance use disorder, and has issued particularly strong warnings concerning the 7-OH products, describing them as potent opioid products that can cause addiction and withdrawals. Other states have already taken strong action, and I believe that we need to follow suit. This is an interesting thing, too. In January, Medicaid was denying treatment across the board for kratom, and now they get approved. And it was said before, too, that the way that they treat it is with Suboxone, and that is the same thing that we treat fentanyl with. I do not believe the answer is to create a framework that legitimizes the sale of this or any other potentially addictive substance, and then hope that labeling it, putting limits on it, and age restrictions will prevent addiction. We've been down this road before, and Montana as a state has the opportunity to act early. Don't wait for the statistics to become staggering. Don't wait for more people to become dependent. Don't wait for more Montana families to discover the risks after someone they love is already struggling. We know more today than we did in the beginning of the opioid epidemic. Let's use what we've learned. I respectfully ask this committee to move forward with a ban on kratom in Montana and follow the states that have already taken those steps. Let's act early, not after more Montana families have already paid the price. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. We'll move to Misty Brown.
Hi, my name is Misty Brown, and I am a 47-year-old mother of 3 and grandmother of 1. I would like to clarify and say that naloxone does not work on kratom. It does, however, work on semi-synthetic 7-OH. And I would like to also say that had I found kratom in 2018, my mother would still be alive. She was a resident of Montana. My family lives in Montana. I had to take her off life support on August 1st of 2018. I myself didn't find kratom until June of 2019. I'm a survivor of the overprescribing opioid epidemic. Unfortunately, my mom and my dad both passed away in their active addiction. You know, they fell into that trap of the whole Oxycontin stuff that was going on in the 80s and 90s. And then I inadvertently did the same thing to my kids. I'm going to read you my testimony. From 2008 to 2019, I lived in the grip of FDA-approved pain pills, benzos, and muscle relaxers prescribed for my degenerative disc disease. For 11 years, chronic pain management fueled my addiction. What started as a dependency slowly slid into a destructive cycle of misuse and despair. In April of 2019, I was dismissed from my pain management after failing a required pill count. I was 11 pills short, and my usual drug dealers didn't have any of the pink Oxy-10s I needed. Cut off from prescriptions, I turned to the streets in desperation and eventually slipped into cocaine use while searching for another doctor. Then in June of 2019, while suffering through cocaine withdrawal, I stumbled upon a documentary called A Leap of Faith. That single moment changed the course of my life. The very next day, I began my journey with whole leaf kratom, not synthetic 7-OH, by walking into a smoke shop. The kratom was in a glass case, locked up, and I was carded when purchased. Kratom quieted the relentless cravings, the constant voice whispering, one more pill, one more snort, one more escape. For the first time in over a decade, I felt peace. Kratom gave me the space and clarity to confront the deeper reasons behind my addiction and to rebuild my life from the ground up. I have not returned to pain management over 7 years. I only consume 1 teaspoon once a day, and I take 1 to 4 days off every week. I control kratom. It does not control me. Today, I'm a thriving mother, a proud first-time grandmother, a functioning member of society, and a tax-paying citizen. Most importantly, I'm no longer a burden to my children. I'm an example of hope and healing. So I will say this. Kratom, whole leaf kratom, is an exit from addictions. Synthetic 7-OH and its derivatives are an entrance into one. So I support the regulations bill. I oppose the ban. Please do your due diligence on this. And thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. We'll move to Laura Romney.
Hello. Hi, Chairman and members of the committee. I'm grateful I can speak to you today. I, again, am a 56-year-old wife, mom, and grandma. And I wanted to tell you today that I'm absolutely in support of full regulation for the Kratom Consumer Protection Act for Montana, because I am living proof of the fact that Kratom absolutely is literally a life-saving tool for people in chronic pain. I have been a chronic pain patient for 14 years. I have a severe nerve disease called facial nerve disease called trigeminal neuralgia, and it is just debilitating. And I had tried everything under the sun. I even had brain surgery and an implant in my face and had failed on numerous pharmaceuticals and ended up in pain management on a very low dose of opioids. I was still absolutely miserable. I had to choose whether I was going to function partly in the day or sleep at night. And then I found whole leaf kratom, just the powder, again, like 1 teaspoon mixed in water. It absolutely dropped my pain down to a tolerable level 3 pain from what was some days up to an 8 to 9. And that was 9 years ago. I know some had talked about how, you actually get a resistance to it. You have to take more and more. That is not the case. I am almost on the identical dose that I was 9 years ago. And I'm just still successfully living. I can actually work, take care of my family. I play the flute. None of this was possible before I had the pain relief from natural leaf kratom. Right now, we have an opiate crisis in this country. Pain patients literally do not have access to pain medication. We're desperate. There's just nothing out there that controls this severe pain, and you literally cannot just wish away your pain. You can't pretend it's not there. it's dangerous to not to have any sort of pain control. And when there's an actual alternative that's out there that can be regulated, safely regulated, that's the way to go. And, I'm absolutely in full support of natural leaf kratom, not the 7-OH product. There's safety, there's science behind kratom, not the 7-OH products. In fact, it has been shown that natural kratom does not suppress breathing, but 7-OH has been shown in animal studies that it can, especially when mixed with other substances. And so, the DEA and the FDA, they absolutely would not keep a product on the shelf for consumers if they felt like it was a huge risk. As you've heard, they've done their own studies, and it has been deemed safe for human consumption, especially when it's tested product. And that's where you come in as legislators. You can set the right laws to be able to strictly regulate. I mean making sure that it's good labeling, that it's not attractive to children, that it's behind the counter, that it has the correct levels of 7-OH in it, which are the natural levels. One other thing that was mentioned several times by people that have spoken is about how expensive kratom is. Well, that is absolutely untrue. Those are the 7-OH products. If you hear people having to spend thousands or hundreds and thousands a month, that's 7-OH. Literally, a natural leaf kratom cost me about $40 a month. That's it, $40 a month. And, again, it's been an absolute miracle for me, and I know many others. And so, when you actually go to consider this, again, consider what the government is saying, consider what pain patients like me, past people like Misty that have been in addiction. It truly is a life-saving plant. And it would be a real shame if you pass this legislation when we are on the cusp of having the real bad actor gone, which is the 7-OH product. Just postpone this until they're gone, then reassess the products, make sure you lock down whatever remaining product is on the shelf to make sure it is safe and tested. But again, thank you so much for the time today, and I appreciate I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Dan Gibbs.
Chairman Luer, Vice Chairman Bowman, and members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Dan Gibbs. I'm a public health advocate and educator, independent researcher, and most importantly, Austin Gibbs's father. On December 6, 2023, my only child, Austin, died at just 25 years old. Austin's certified cause of death was intoxication by metragenine, the primary alkaloid in kratom. That was not my conclusion as his father. It was officially determined by Dr. Kent Harsberger, a physician and board-certified forensic pathologist, following the death investigation, autopsy, and toxicology testing. His death was not attributed to concentrated 7-OH or synthetic kratom. He died from intoxication by the primary alkaloid found in natural kratom products. This is why I'm asking you to pursue comprehensive prohibition. Do not allow this debate to become simply about synthetic 7-OH versus natural kratom. That distinction would not have saved my son. Metragenine acts on opioid receptors and can be metabolized by the human body into 7-OH. FDA's recent human study found opioid-related effects, including pupillary constriction, and at highest doses, increases in feeling high, drug liking, and good drug effects. There is documented human case evidence of naloxone reversing an opioid-type toxidrome after kratom use, including a published case in which specialized toxicology detected kratom but no other opioids. That matters when evaluating kratom, that natural kratom cannot produce clinically significant opioid effects. And that FDA's single ascending dose study did not conclude that kratom is safe, establish a safe daily dose, or evaluate the safety of repeated or long-term use. You will not find those words in that study. That's a common talking point by the American Kratom Association, and is simply not true. I want to leave you with a much simpler question. If natural kratom is going to remain legally available to young adults, what is the scientifically established safe dose of metragenine for a 21-year-old consumer? What is the maximum safe daily dose, and what clinical evidence establishes it? Austin did ample research. He didn't know kratom could kill him either. There was no FDA-approved dosing regimen, no medically established maximum daily dose, and no standardized instructions telling him how much metragine was safe to consume. My family did not know, and Austin did not know. And please listen carefully to what some of the Kratom users themselves acknowledge. There are people who openly describe themselves as dependent or addicted who report withdrawal when they stop, who say they need Kratom just to get out of bed, function, or feel normal. Those accounts should raise serious questions about dependence and the consequences of chronic use, particularly when long-term safety has not been established. A substance should not be declared safe simply because someone says it helps them function after they have become dependent on it. And FDA's position on Kratom, it is not lawfully marketed in the United States as a drug product, dietary supplement, or food additive in conventional food. And the agency continues to warn consumers not to use Kratom because of the risk of serious adverse effects. And please remember who is asking you to regulate rather than prohibit this industry. The American Kratom Association and industry-aligned advocates who promoted Kratom Consumer Protection Acts across this country, which states are now reversing those in favor of complete bans. The AKA is not a neutral public health agency. It is an advocacy organization whose stated mission includes protecting consumer access to Kratom. Its representatives, lobbyists, consultants, and other industry interests have a deep stake in keeping a legal Kratom market. Their testimony should be weighed with that interest clearly understood and should never be given greater weight than independent medical, toxicological, and public health evidence. Do not accept the words Consumer Protection Act as evidence that consumers are protected. Ask for the evidence. I cannot change what happened to my son, Austin, but you can decide whether another family is led to believe that natural Kratom is safe simply because synthetic products or concentrated 7-OH have been removed. Please address Kratom and metragine itself, not merely synthetic or concentrated derivatives. I have sent you a written testimony with lots of documentation, all with citations and references to back up everything I've told you here today. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Beth Price. Beth Price. We'll move on to Leanne Troche.
Good afternoon, members of the committee, Mr. Chair. My name is Leanna Troche, last name spelled Troesh. I am a master social worker licensing candidate, and a licensed addiction counselor. I've worked in treatment settings and have ran adult and adolescent intensive outpatient treatment programs across Montana, or mostly up in the Flatheads. Sorry about that. That is the reason what brought me here and has continued to bring me here in drug policy. Speaking on behalf of people who are struggling with addiction themselves and trying to get out. I'm also a person in long-term recovery. But today I am speaking to you on behalf of Safe Montana, where we have been spending years working to address public health and safety issues that has come along with legalized recreational marijuana. And because of that, and we're talking about regulating Kratom today, we are actually talking about creating another legalized product in Montana. And that is what really causes some concern for me on the legislative proposal for the Kratom Consumer Protection Act. We are still playing catch up with marijuana. We still don't have the proper regulations that we need to keep our public safe with the legalization of recreational marijuana. And since legalization, we've repeatedly come back to the legislator to address things that didn't adequately plan for at the beginning of the market growth, ownership and control, enforcement gaps, local authority, consumer education, testing, new intoxicating products that happen to find their way into the existing laws. So this is what will happen when we, what you're saying, regulate Kratom, but what we're actually doing is legalizing this product. We are legalizing it without the proper safeguards when we look at this proposed Kratom Consumer Protection Act, it doesn't just regulate, it creates that legal market. And it creates the processors, the distributors, the retailers, the registration products, and then asks the Department of Revenue and CARD to regulate it. That means that we have more registrations, more testing, more enforcement, and more rulemaking, and we grow government. This is creating another industry and growing government to regulate that industry we just created. We already know that there are so many holes in the marijuana gaps that we are trying to close. In this legislation that is proposed, it is not for public health and safety. It is for industry promotion and consumer protection. There is absolutely no potency cap on the misogyne itself. This actually just puts a cap on the H7OH. It has no control how large the market can grow, no ownership or control disclosure. There's no required prevention education at this point of sale. Its inspection authority is focused on registered entities rather than specifically reaching unregistered sellers. These aren't hypothetical concerns. They're real concerns that we've learned through the legalization of marijuana. From the preventative perspective, and commercialization also matters. When an intoxicating product moves from something a young person can have seek out online to something that is actually legally sold within our state, that helps them, that allows them to see this as a normalized product that they can use, and the increased availability of the product helps to normalize this product, and we start to see more youth use. We have seen that happen with marijuana as dispensaries throughout the communities are dealing with intoxicating hemp products, all of these additional products, and now THC beverages that are starting to come onto the market. We heard somebody say earlier that the synthesized cannabis that has been put out there, well, look at the problems that we continue to have with the marijuana legalized market. We continue to have market products on the shelves, and this will only continue to raise those concerns. So our responsibility needs to be broader than protecting a consumer who chooses to use Kratom. We also have the responsibility to protect public health and safety for the people who don't choose to use it, our children, our families, and our communities. That's why I would propose and support Senator Nolan's complete ban, the complete ban while the science begins to catch up. Because once the genie is out of the bottle, it is really hard to put the genie back in, as we have already found. I would suggest that we put misogyne and hydromisogyne on the Schedule 1 so that we can continue to keep the public safe while we work on building those proper regulation and creating that legalized market. We can always come back and revisit the decision when the science begins to catch up. But if the committee decides to regulate Kratom instead, I strongly encourage you, do not move forward with the way that PD 004 is written, that there needs to be very strong considerations as far as following along with what the marijuana industry and what we do have currently and what we are cleaning up from all of the regulations that we are continuing to work on through the marijuana industry and regulation, that we create a Montana Kratom Public Health and Safety Act rather than a Consumer Protection Act. And those safeguards that were built around from something that we are learning. So we do want to support the committee in whichever decision that you do make. We are here for questions to support those decisions that you do make and making sure that Montanans, our children, and our communities remain safe. Thank you for your time. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll move on to Susan.
Hello, my name's Susan Eppard, and I fully support banning all forms of Kratom. My 22-year-old son, Matthew, died from natural whole leaf Kratom powder, which is the least potent form of Kratom available in the United States. Kratom caused him to have a seizure, go into cardiac arrest, and die. His toxicology and autopsy showed he died from the toxic effects of metragenine, an alkaloid found only in kratom. He had no prescription drugs, no street drugs, nor alcohol in his system when he died. His autopsy showed he had no underlying health conditions. It's important to note my son didn't die from 7-OH, 7-hydroxymetragenine, pseudodoxil, any semi-synthetics, nor synthetic kratom. My son used kratom for energy because he believed the lie that kratom is as safe as coffee because it's in the coffee family. However, coffee doesn't contain the deadly metragenine nor hydroxymetragenine. He died in 2021, long before semi or synthetic hit the market in the US in late 2023. The majority of Americans have little to no idea what kratom is, yet it's in seltzers that are advertised as alcohol-free, caffeine-free, plant-based, improve focus, productivity, relaxation, and mood boost. Advertisements say, with every sip, enjoy a brighter outlook on your day. Some people are likely to share these with their children as they're deceptively marketed as safe. I myself would have probably bought these seemingly safe drinks until my son died from kratom, and now I question everything. My son would sleep while on kratom as if he were in a coma. I had to buy him a sonic alarm clock with a decibel level of a siren, and sometimes he was able to sleep through that. He spent all of his money on kratom and was never able to get off of it until it ultimately took his life. This is kratom powder. My son was dead long before the semi-synthetics. Kratom isn't always routinely tested for post-mortem. That, combined with the fact that many people hide their kratom use, deaths are likely hugely underestimated. I had to request that my son be tested after his death for kratom because they told me it was not routinely tested for. And for as many as so-called experts who claim kratom is safe, there are many more who state kratom is dangerous. You likely don't hear from those because they're not being paid to be here. Mr. Salmon of the American Kratom Association reminded us that our federal government wanted to ban kratom in 2016. If that would have happened, my son would still be alive. However, despite the FDA recommending kratom be criminalized as Schedule I drug alongside heroin, that didn't happen because a California man, Sebastian Guthrie, whose company grossed more than $60 million selling kratom and was found guilty of money laundering, was a founding funder of the American Kratom Association, a nonprofit advocacy group that rallied kratom users and dealers to beat back the FDA's efforts to outlaw kratom. In reference to kratom, Mr. Salmon said, "Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater." This is a dangerous drug. Kratom is being referred to as a baby to make it seem harmless to you. And the bathwater is in reference to even more dangerous kratom-derived drugs like 7-OH and metragenine pseudodoxil, which can only be made from kratom as they are semi-synthetics, requiring kratom as the main ingredient. The AKA has 40-plus kratom dealers on their website, and several of them, including the AKA, are in wrongful death lawsuits. And I ordered kratom from one of their online dealers, and they shipped it to me in Florida, an age-restricted state, and they shipped it to me, no credit card, no ID required, and I only had to click a button stating I was old enough. The American Kratom Association works extensively with and for the kratom industry. Though they officially and deceptively describe themselves as a consumer advocacy group, they vehemently deny addictions, injuries, and deaths, further putting Americans in danger from this drug. They tout kratom as a cure-all and push it to the most vulnerable members of society. Kratom is heavily marketed to chronic pain patients, people with mental disorders, and substance abuse disorders. They know or should know that nearly all of these people are already on medications. Yet when these people die, they say, well, they were using other drugs with their kratom. Well, of course they are, because that's who they market it to. The main active compound in kratom, such as metragenine, are lipophilic, meaning they are fat soluble and can accumulate in fatty tissues. When a person loses weight and burns fat, trace amounts of these compounds realistically can be stored, put back into the bloodstream. And as we know, kratom causes people to lose a lot of weight in general. And as Lori Romney stated, this drug controls her severe pain and has been an absolute miracle. If this is the case, it shouldn't be prescribed by a gas station attendant in unlimited supply. And Mrs. Romney also spoke about how people are not spending that much money on kratom. Well, I have to disagree with that because my son was completely broke despite having a very well-paying job. And it's just really sad that people have to keep dying from this garbage gas station drug. And I'm open to any questions that you have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jennifer Gillis.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Gillis, and although I live in Tennessee, I felt pressed to speak to you all today. On July 1st of this year, natural kratom became illegal in the state of Tennessee. That negatively impacted not just my life, but countless other people's lives. 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with transverse myelitis, becoming a lifelong chronic pain patient. For many years, I relied on prescription medications until, through no fault of my own, I lost access to those medications. After years of struggling to find relief, I discovered whole leaf kratom in 2019, and it gave me a second chance at life. Kratom had given me the chance to do things that my chronic pain had held me back from doing for years. One of the biggest things that gets overlooked in these conversations is the people who are benefiting from natural kratom. When it gets made into an illegal product, those people, like me, are left behind to suffer, not because of anything that we did, but because the 7-OH industry chose to falsely market these products as kratom, creating confusion and causing harm in communities across the country. Kratom has been around for many years, and the only reason it seems to be a newer issue and has become a problem is because of the 7-OH manufacturers targeting the kratom name when selling these products. And it's devastated many communities and many people. And people like me and the other people in the state of Tennessee are the ones that are paying for it. Most people don't pay attention to legislative matters, and they have no idea that this is taking place today. I speak today just for the regular moms who can run errands, the grandmas who are able to play with their grandkids, the everyday people and communities all across Montana who have a better quality of life because of natural kratom, but they aren't here to share their voice today. Our voices matter. In Tennessee, we were turned into criminals overnight just for trying to have a better quality of life, and that shouldn't happen to anyone. Please consider my story when voting for the people of Montana. Pass sensible regulations, follow the DEA, get 7-OH products off the shelves. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Beth Price.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman, Lear, members of the committee. I apologize. My laptop would not allow me to unmute, so I pivoted and I'm on my phone. My name is Beth Price, Price, and I'm speaking on my own behalf. If you and your peers in the Montana legislature in 2027 determine that a ban is the best way to protect Montanans, then a ban should be seriously considered, and I believe it offers the strongest protection. But if a ban is not possible, the alternative should not be legislation designed primarily to establish and protect a legal kratom marketplace. That distinction is especially important now because the kratom market is changing faster than the laws governing it. Federal action on 7-hydroxymetragenine, or 7-OH, is important, but we should be clear about what that action actually means. Temporary scheduling is just that, temporary. And I don't think Montana should build its public health policy around the assumption that today's federal action permanently resolves tomorrow's risks. And we need to remember also, too, that addressing 7-OH alone does not resolve every concern associated with kratom. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment online, we got one more public comment in the room. Ms. Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your indulgence. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, for the record again, Jennifer Hensley, Hensley. There is a doctor that's having difficulty accessing things online, and the chair said he would permit me to read his statement quickly into the record. I would have instructed him to email, but I think you guys are moving faster than that, so I appreciate your indulgence. This is from Dr. Kyle Moore, Moore. He's the Director of Addiction Medicine at St. Pete's here in Helena. I see kratom withdrawal on a very regular basis, and I'm very concerned about the easy availability. I recommend a complete ban of 7-OH and severe restrictions for kratom leaf. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Seeing none, we'll move to questions from the committee. Is there any questions from the committee? Brian,
yes,
Senator Close.
for starting with Ms. Cahill, just a couple questions.
Chairman Lear, Representative.
So, has the FDA approved kratom for human consumption?
No, it has not. In fact, if you look at the FDA website or any federal government website, it specifically says that kratom has not been approved as a supplement, does not recommend using, many warnings on our federal CDC, DEA websites, as well as the CDC.
Where does kratom originate?
A leaf from, Southeast Asian countries, yeah.
Is it legal to import kratom into the United States of America?
It is not, actually, interestingly.
Thank you. That's my question for you at the moment.
Thank you.
May I question Mr. Stamen?
Representative Close.
Mr. Stamen, where are your members getting their kratom from?
Actually, most of it's coming from Indonesia right now, but we also have some that's coming out of Florida and some that's coming out of Hawaii.
So for the kratom that's introduced from Indonesia, are they filing false custom declarations?
I do not believe so, no.
Oh, so when they import it to the United States, the custom declaration says it's kratom?
Yes, many times.
Are you aware that kratom is illegal in Indonesia and Malaysia for consumption?
Representative Close through the chair.
Mr. Chair, follow-up. Are you aware that kratom is illegal in Indonesia? And
Actually,
Malaysia?
I've been to Indonesia a couple of times, and that's not accurate. It's not illegal in Indonesia.
Oh, it's not?
No.
So all of the sources that tell me it's so like...
They've been using it for hundreds of years.
Mr. Chair, sorry. Are you aware that it's banned in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, France, Norway, Bulgaria, Finland, Ireland, and the United Kingdom?
I know that there are several countries where alcohol is banned, and so is marijuana.
That wasn't my question, sir. Are you aware that kratom is banned?
Yes, I am aware.
Representative Close and Mr. Solomon, let's keep this civil. We're not here to question. This is not a courtroom, so please keep it civil.
Thank you. Well, those are the questions I had for Mr. Stamen.
Thank you, Mr. Close. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now I have some questions for Ms. Zawacki. Mr. Chair.
Representative Close.
Yeah, Ms. Zawacki. So under the proposed regulation bill, it proposes to take out impurities and processing impurities. But my question to you is natural leaf kratom addictive?
Mr. Chair, Representative, yes, it is.
Could you explain to us...
Through the chair.
Mr. Chair, follow-up, could you explain to us habituation regarding natural leaf kratom?
Mr. Chair, Representative, yes. So as we know, kratom and 7-OH both bind to an opioid receptor in our brain. It is the mu receptor, for those of you nerds that really want to know. And the problem with the mu receptor is that once it's bound, your body makes more for you. So I tell my patients, think about you're listening to music and you put on earplugs. And so then you turn up the volume so that you can hear and then you put on bigger earplugs and maybe some earmuffs, and then you turn up the volume again. And so then when you suddenly, rapidly take off your earmuffs and earplugs, you are getting a lot of noise, and that would be opioid withdrawal. So when your body is introduced to any opioid, including heroin and fentanyl and kratom and 7-OH and hydrocodone, oxycodone, your body will make more receptors and you become dependent on it, and then you need to increase your dose in order to get the same effect. And then your body will make more receptors, so you increase your dose to get the same effect, to block those receptors so that you're not in pain. And then your body makes more receptors. So you continue on and on and on, taking more and more and more of these substances in order to get the same relief and effect, and that's tolerance.
Mr. Chair, just one last question.
Follow-up.
Mrs. Wacky, what happens to a fetus if a pregnant woman takes natural leaf kratom?
Mr. Chair and Representative, I'm not an OBGYN, so I can't answer that specifically. I can tell you that opioids introduced in utero do result in withdrawals in the baby when it's born, and withdrawal during the pregnancy can be fatal to the fetus.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Senator Bowman.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Chair. I actually had a question for you too, Ms. Zawacki. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, you were the one who were the addiction counselor, is that right, Ms. Zawacki? Or work with?
Yes. Addiction medicine provider.
Right. Okay, you're who I wanted to ask. Mr. Chair, so in my day job as a lawyer, I work with a lot of folks that have addiction issues, and although I'm inclined to support the prohibition or ban bill, one of the things that I am persuaded by in the more industry bill is the testimony from folks that have addiction issues and utilize this. And so I guess what's your position about that? What do you say to folks that have addiction issues that use kratom, I guess, as sort of an off-ramp of some sort?
Mr. Chair and Representative, I would not call it an off-ramp. I would call it a detour, because they are going to hopefully want to stop it later. But again, that dependence will increase, and so you do wind up using more. I believe that one of the previous testimonies discussed that she does give herself breaks, which in theory would help prevent you from developing tolerance as quickly, but all opioids, you can develop tolerance. So individually, there's no way to say, like, well, this person can be safe on this dose and that person will be safe on the same dose, because that's just not how it works.
Can I ask a quick follow-up on that? Sorry.
Follow-up.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, Ms. Zawacki, so I guess I am a little confused, because in my world, it would be prescribed by a physician then. And so then, if I'm understanding, they obtain it then not through medical. They're getting it then from a gas station, is that right? Gotcha. I'm not familiar totally with how this, but that's where people get kratom, is from gas stations, or
Representative and Senator,
or online.
They can buy it online. They can buy it at gas stations. They can buy it at dispensaries. You can get it anywhere. I was recently down in California, and they just have it at every convenience store.
Great. Thank you
for now.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Further questions from the committee? Representative Strand.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. This is a question actually for Mr. Walker. Let's see. If we put our name and our license on a product, and then somebody buys that product and dies, what is our exposure politically, legally, as opposed to just banning it? You know, are we exposed? I mean, I want to focus on all the health issues that we're all talking about in the room, but that's another side of this that we're not really exploring.
Well, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I suppose it's the lawyer answer. Obviously, it depends. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by put our name on the product or whatever. Certainly, I'd be happy to chat with you at some point and maybe flesh it out, and we can chat with the committee about that. But yeah, I have many questions.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, if we have a license on there that has our name on the product.
Okay, that makes more sense, Mr. Chair. For a second, I thought you meant the legislature producing Kratom products. That is a fairly complex question. I'll have to look a bit into. Obviously, it involves issues of sovereign immunity, whether the state has waived its licensure or its ability to get sued on issues like that. I'm aware of case law. For example, the state allows for licensure of doctors, dentists, plumbers, you name it, any sort of professional occupation. Liquor, when they create a tort or do something that ends in a lawsuit, it's not the state that gets sued for licensing them. So that would probably be an avenue of case law I would look into. It's a bit complex, but that's probably where I'd start. The question being, what is the state's liability for allowing something like that?
Thanks.
Or licensure, for sure.
Perfect, thank you.
Further questions from the committee? Seeing none further questions from the committee, I guess we'll move into possible approval of draft language in both of these bills. Committee discussion. Well, no, we'll move one at a time, Senator Bowman.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we pass the prohibition or ban bill. If you can help me out, Matthew, on which one that one was?
03.
03. And I guess just briefly, I'd like to share why. Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, I've served in the Montana legislature since 2010. And I certainly love serving on this committee in particular. We sort of rhetorically call it the fun committee, right? Because we regulate, and I support freedom and regulation of products, right? Like gambling and booze and marijuana. But I am so incredibly, I don't want to get emotional, moved by the testimony we heard from mothers. I'm a mother, and we don't regulate heroin. We don't regulate products and industry sold at gas stations that are preying on young men, preying on vulnerable people that have clearly, which is what we heard of in support of Kratom, was folks that have addictions, young men who had nothing else in their system. You have the health care industry. You have physicians. You have 7 other states now who have banned this product. If it wants to be regulated, let physicians prescribe it like a medicine. It is a drug. So I am urging this committee to protect the kids and the young men and the addicted and the vulnerable people out there. It should not be sold at gas stations. It should be in our pharmacies if folks want access to it. And so with that, I would ask that we prevent more harms in our communities and ban it in Montana. Thank you.
Was that a motion?
Yeah. Oh, did I not say to move 03?
No, I think you said which one was it.
Oh, sorry. And I'd like to move that we pass it. I think I said that at the beginning.
With that, I will take a voice vote on moving draft PD 0003, moving that forward as a committee bill. Discussion. Senator Nolan.
Can I get some clarification, Mr. Chair, if I could? There's a motion to take a vote?
On 003.
Correct.
No. Would you like, and then I called for discussion.
Oh, thank you.
Senator Nolan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've heard people today, and I have a concern that there will be people that don't do their due diligence. They won't find out. They won't say, man, this could be bad, this might be good. I mean, some of you know those folks. Could be the kid down the street. Could be a wife that's, man, I've heard that's really good. And my friend got it, Mr. Chair, and that's my fear. And it's real. I guess I won't tell you some specifics, but it's real. And people can take those, not knowing which one they're taking. Should they do their due diligence? Yeah. I wish they would. We probably wouldn't have this discussion. These other people's family members wouldn't be dead. But they didn't know. So I'm afraid we could get more fatalities. I think my last comment of, we've heard some folks say they get relief from natural relief powder. I guess I'm not willing to risk one more death. I'm sorry if this passes and we actually do something in the legislation, we can pass this. To me, I'm really sorry that your life, in your minds, as we heard today, is going to be miserable, and I'm sorry, but I can't, in good conscience, pass and even promote a substance like this, in my mind, knowing what it potentially could do. Based on the expert witnesses that we heard, people died. That's not a guess. This happened. And so I can't do that. I can't support that, but I will be in supportive of this particular motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Further discussion from the committee, Rep. Strand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the reasons that I'm drawn, I'm generally speaking, personally, somebody who likes to give people choice about how they're going to spend their time and their money and what they're going to do. I think it's a very Montana way of living and thinking. But obviously, there's some troubles here. And I think very telling is that there are several states that started in the regulation category who moved or are moving toward a ban category. That says a lot. If a state starts with regulation and goes through all of that, and then a year later is looking for a ban, that tells me that regulation is a problem. So I'm very much in support of a ban.
Thank you. Further discussion from the committee? Further discussion from the committee? If not, the secretary, will you please take a roll call vote?
Chair Brandon Lair?
No.
Vice Chair Ellie Boldman?
Yes.
Senator Kenneth Bogner?
No.
Representative Ed Buttry?
No.
Representative Brian Close?
Yay.
Representative Jamie Isley?
Yes.
Senator Josh Kastmeyer?
No by proxy.
Representative Nellie Nickel?
Yes, by proxy.
Senator Mark Nolan?
Yes.
Representative Peter Strand?
Yes.
Representative Morgan Teal?
No.
Six ayes, 5 nays.
Motion passes. Thank you. Moving forward, I guess we'll move draft 003 through as a committee bill. Now moving to PD 004. Do I have a motion? Senator Bogner.
Mr. Chair, I move we adopt PD 0004, a bill for an act entitled an act creating the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, as a Economic Affairs Committee bill.
Discussion from the committee. Senator Nolan. I seen you turned your mic on.
I turned my mic on. Got a little light. That's a very giveaway. So I just have a couple of questions in my mind that I'm sure all of you other smart people, because we're all smart. Some of us are smart Alex, but some of us are smart. I'm the smart aleck, by the way. Sure. Anyway, I'm having a little bit of a concern or a hang-up when we heard one of them, he didn't write his name down, I don't think, Dan Gibbs, I think it was, made the comments that it isn't, where's the evidence? We should have that before we can. And we just heard somebody else say what the bill that is being proposed right now doesn't have enough in it that's really going to protect us. So it's maybe not ready for prime time. Can it be fixed? We know how to fix things, Mr. Chair. I get that because that's kind of part of our job. But this particular one, from what I'm understanding, isn't ready. But again, there's other smart people in here, so if we wanted to talk about that, because I don't see that right at the moment as the one that should move forward. And then the other question is it really banned? We're not supposed to have it in the United States? We're not supposed to get it here? So if it's not supposed to be, somebody help me understand this, why are we allowing it in our state? So it's not supposed to be, yet we're going to say as Montanans, yeah, we're going to turn our back on this issue and let it happen. So if somebody wants to address that in the committee that can understand that for me and help me understand it, because I don't get that part at all. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Noland. I guess I'll speak briefly on this. I'm in support of a regulatory bill. This bill, the pieces of it were brought forward in the 2025 legislation. The bulk of this bill was amended throughout the process, and I believe this bill here is a solid framework to that because it bans the synthetic derivatives, leaves natural leaf kratom, and it also age gates it to where no child can now just grab it off of the convenience store or grocery store or gas station shelves. It will not be treated as such. And I believe that this piece of legislation you said isn't ready for prime time. This passed our B&L committee. This passed the House floor. And as a public comment was stated, there was a fiscal note attached to it. I do not believe that through the process last session, when this bill was introduced, we did not have the time to go through with the fiscal note and really figure out how we were not going to make this a burden on the taxpayers, because I don't believe that a taxpayer should pay for this regulation. I believe if somebody who wants to sell this substance should be the one involved in paying the fee, the regulatory fee, just like we do with alcohol and just like we do with marijuana and every other substance that we regulate. It's not a burden on the taxpayer. It's a burden on the people that are wanting to sell this. So through that, I believe that this bill will obviously see a few changes throughout the process, whether that's in a committee on the floor. It will obviously have to go through the appropriations because there's money tied to it, but an outright ban would also cost dollars too, because you can't ban something for free. That's also regulation. So with that, those are the reasons why myself are supporting this regulatory bill.
Could I have
Senator Nolan.
Another crack at it?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So, two things. I know we're not talking about marijuana, but when the gummy thing came out and all this stuff, kids can't get to that. It's in zip ties and you can't get it, but my granddaughter can use her knife and her scissors and cut that right open, and so it's not. So I'm still back to concerned that mom and dad might get it, and if they don't, again, we have to, do we want to regulate everything? No, I know. But I'm afraid that somebody else can have access to it. So from a legislative, in my mind, standpoint, I say no. Then I said no, and the kids are going to die because we said no. Can they still get it? Yeah, they're breaking the law that way if they do. And I forgot my other point, but somebody else had a comment. So,
Senator Nolan, just to your argument, or just to your statement, sorry, not argument. This is the part of politics I enjoy. You can have alcohol in your fridge, but it's not legal for my 13-year-old daughter to drink. Obviously, I'm a user of tobacco products. I don't allow my son to have that either. And I have that, which is readily available in a house. And I guarantee it could. Which I'm not sitting here trying to, facilitate one way or the other, which way the committee should work. But it's my job to parent my kids and to be the safeguard for them. I don't believe that's the job of the government to interject into, what I choose to have. And it's my job as a parent to protect my kids from that. And when they're old enough to make the decisions themselves, they can make them. Now, with that, I do not want to have any child die from any of this. But I don't believe it's the government's job to outright say you can't do this, because where does it stop? Senator Bowman.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Chair. Just real briefly, Mr. Chair, members of the body, I guess I just wanted to make a clarification from my perspective, because I don't think it's just semantics. I think the clarification matters, and that's that I don't see this as a regulatory proposal or regulatory bill, because a quick Google search shows that this is an industry bill. And I think the analogy that this is to tobacco or alcohol is not the analogy. I think the analogy is to opium and heroin, and those are not in your refrigerator. The quick Google search can show you that this same industry bill has been attempted or passed in other states. I am an attorney by trade, and we have spent decades watching corporations tell us that addictive products were harmless, right up until the point that we had evidence of body counts. And that's what we have here. And we have our health care, all our counties telling us to ban it. I am done letting the industry and profiteers and corporations dictate the health of our people. And so, again, I'm going to oppose the industry bill. Thanks.
Senator Bowman, in the 2025 legislature, I helped amend this bill. In this interim, I reached out to Mr. Weaver. There has been no industry involvement in the drafting of this bill. If they're planning to bring another bill, I don't know the knowledge to that, but this bill here is not an industry bill. This is a bill that myself and other stakeholders have been involved in, but I have not sought the guidance of the industry that is even in this room. So this is not an industry bill. Any further discussion? Representative Teal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly wouldn't say this is an area of expertise for me, and we've heard a lot about this over the interim and last session. I was in House Business and Labor as well. And obviously this issue is very sensitive and impactful to a lot of people, and I've really appreciated hearing all the different perspectives and the testimony of this. I was a no on that last one, and I will be a yes on this one, because I'm not completely comfortable with the complete ban, but I am completely comfortable with banning the synthetic version. So just kind of wanted to state that that's where I'm at right now, and I'm looking forward to, I'm sure, much more discussion about this coming up in the session in 2027.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the committee? Representative Isley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a really tough thing to do, because we don't want to necessarily prohibit, people from maybe having access to something that they might claim to be, beneficial for them. But on the same note, while this might not be a, quote, industry bill, this bill and the industry itself, the aspect of selling kratom, is a money-making venture. And that venture, and I don't want to say that, we like money-making ventures, but on this one, this is a money-making venture that's killing people. And, so at what point do we allow an enterprise and, the profit motive to control us within the state? And I think, more discussion maybe on the natural leaf kratom maybe needs to happen. That particular thing, but I'm still reading things in this bill about I can't even say the terms, and that kind of thing. And so it's not saying we don't do it. It's saying if it's in there, it has to be labeled so. And I guess when we talk about people and profit motive, sometimes I'm afraid we can't always trust that those people who are trying to make a profit are looking out for the best interest of the citizens of Montana, or any citizen for that matter. And so until I have more information, until I really can get a sense of, and I was in business and labor too, and we did debate this over and over again. And we had all sorts of people come and talk to us about it. And I'm still, wondering, about the benefits and then weighing that on the bad things that we're hearing. And so I'm struggling with that. And so at this point, I don't see this bill as a regulatory enough bill for me to go ahead and go forward with it.
Further discussion from the committee? Further discussion? Seeing none, will the secretary please take a roll call vote?
Chair Brandon Lair,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ellie Boldman,
No.
Senator Kenneth Wagner,
Yes.
Representative Ed Buttrey,
Yes.
Representative Brian Close,
No.
Representative Jamie Isley,
No.
Senator Josh Kastmeyer,
Yes, by proxy.
Representative Nellie Nickel,
No by proxy.
Senator Mark Noland,
No.
Representative Peter Strand,
No.
Representative Morgan Teal.
Yes.
5 ayes, 6 nays.
Motion fails. Moving on. We'll now move into review of committee draft final reports.
There you have it.
Mr. Weaver.
Chair, committee, what you've been waiting for all day.
Take your time. That's the Montana hearing that happened. So, state legislature opens back up in January. There should be an updated, revised KCPA hearing that might be going up there. We shall see. If you're trying to talk, Jen, you're muted. If you're even at the computer. All right. Just wanted to show you all that, the Montana hearing that happened on Tuesday, August 18th.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, what happened?
Dude, I had like 3 other tabs open, and I finally got to the back here, and then my freaking thing froze up. I don't know. Anyway, I was doing 15 things at one time. I didn't even realize it was like ending. No, it was not. It was both a ban and KCPA that were introduced, but the ban bill, I think, was voted to the next committee. But I mean, it still like has a lot of process to go. So it's not like an actual.
Yeah, it's not like an actual state of Montana ban yet.
Yeah,
Hopefully
yeah.
it won't be.
This is just like the. I think the reason why they had it is because like that our bearded dragon boy.
Yeah.
I think because he was talking about there was a regulation bill last year, but there was no fiscal note attached. So this was like a follow up to that one. I guess I'm just, who knows.
And you know what? I agree with not taxing the tax paying citizens. I agree with that part. And I don't mind paying extra for my kratom. If the taxes, if all that falls upon the vendors.
Yeah, there's people in office right now that literally have been in office for like their entire life pretty much. And they're barely hanging in. They can't even get up and wipe their own ass, but they can come and make decisions for millions of people. Get out of here. Like there needs to be term limits on all like local, state, federal, all term limits.
Yeah.
And it's like if they've been in office for 50 years, think about how many connections they've got sewed into the community. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly.
Mike, because I'm thinking it's like something like similar to what North Dakota's doing right now. That's what I'm thinking. But I don't know. Every state is different. I wish it was all unified, like uniform. I wish it was all, but every state is different.
Yeah. Dude, I'm gonna have to remember that. My brain works like 10 tabs and it's frozen. The music won't stop.
It's true.
Oh my God. Oh man. Okay, well, we are going to end it for today, but I hope y'all will join us tomorrow for our recap with Mac. He'll probably be telling us about, I'm wondering if anything happened after the fact.
I want to know too. Mike says, I see the other hearing, Georgia, and looks like West Virginia, great KCPA, and uses the tax as beneficial resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even my state, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's how it should be. I know like Laura and Heidi, I came up with that one regulatory framework where like, the registration fees and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's if you want to sell kratom and you want people to pay for their own way because you know that they're going to do it for the right reasons that they got to pay to even do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. I think that that's how it should be. Mike, were you on Twitter last year whenever Missy, the Guinness lady?
That was this May.
Oh, it was? God bless. I know he's on Twitter, so I don't know if he remember that, but it was like a big thing and she was
Yeah.
like really rude and she ended up blocking Misty for no reason.
Yeah, she blocked me because I dropped my testimony. If you guys see me on X, I'm always, or on YouTube, in the comment sections, I am always dropping I copy and paste my testimony and I just drop it and go, and I did that on her post. And then I reposted it and asked everybody else to respectfully drop their testimonies as well. Well, she wound up blocking me.
Yeah, she's a cuckoo lady. And as far as enforcement, that also varies from state to state, and it depends on what regulation they passed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know most of the time it was supposed to fall on a lot of states, the Department of Agriculture. But
My
like,
state is Department of Revenue.
yeah, see, and that's weird because Tennessee, our thing is now. It's because, obviously the Department of Agriculture didn't do jack shit to enforce their stuff, but now it falls on the Alcohol Commission, which, they had, that's a whole nother, dude, Tennessee is a shit show, dude. They didn't even have any clue about it. Yeah, dude, and I see a lot of people commenting or asking me to comment, but I just don't because I'll get
You're
reported.
not safe. You're not
No.
safe. I haven't even tried to get back on Facebook.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason I'm like, we live stream on Facebook, and since Misty's is gone, like this is our last lifeline. So I just like, because I know that a lot of people are on Facebook and, watch from Facebook. So I would hate to lose that. So yeah, I mean, I don't comment anymore on Facebook, and it kills me sometimes because it's like, but I know. Yeah.
Screwed up because one agriculture guy that was overwhelmed. Well, yeah, there was one guy. I met him at the Kratom Symposium. One guy running it.
It's just insane. Like, I mean, and I know I do agree with having like each state being different, but it is confusing.
What if you put your profile as friends only? It doesn't matter. KDA goes and reports comments in various news stories. If you're commenting there, like how okay, if you guys remember when I was on Facebook, I used to always say go sprinkle that kratom kindness.
Yeah.
Which meant, go correct misinformation or drop your testimonies or what have you. You can't, it's not safe today. KDA plays dirty.
And they like literally, that's like, I guess like some days, let's just say that's all they do. It's just go and what I'm saying, like they are on a mission to do specifically that is what I mean.
They're on a mission to silence us so that it pushes their agenda out further. Yeah. We still will not, I still will not stoop to that level. I will
I
never
won't
report
either.
a video. I will never report a comment or a post or anything.
I mean, that's just, I don't know. I believe people should be able to say what they want to say, even if I don't agree with it. Like, I think it's wrong to report people. I mean, even when I get called names and stuff like that, it's still,
I just
not,
block and move on.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
whatever. What else? I guess me and my detour ass. I can't believe that chick said I took a detour. I know they were referencing me. They were referencing me. I was the only one that talked about taking breaks on that, when I did my testimony on there.
Yeah, that was so stupid. I wouldn't call it, an exit. I call it a detour.
Kratom was my stop sign.
Yeah.
Like, stop, hold up, wait a minute. Work on your addiction wise. We got this, bitch. That's what Kratom did for me. And now I'm no longer an active addict, so I utilize Kratom for my chronic pain, anxiety, and depression.
I just don't understand why it's so hard for them to understand that. It's not like, oh, well, your chronic pain's just going to fucking go away.
And then that same chick talking about how her recent patient, she's seen him 5 times. He runs out of his Suboxone films. And then he lets her know that he's about to go into withdrawal from 7-OH. So he's flip-flopping between 7-OH or Kratom. She said Kratom. So he's flip-flopping, supposedly, from Kratom. He's flip-flopping between Kratom and Suboxone. So when he runs out of his DOC, he just swaps it. Yeah, I mean, it was remote Zoom, but it was very strategically given out to certain people.
Yeah.
So whenever the next hearing happens, I don't know. I don't know what committee it's going to next. I don't know the avenues. But okay, yeah, we're gonna get up off here. We got recap with Mac tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys come over here and watch for updates. Mac's I'm sure you're gonna come in swinging.
All right, everybody, have a good rest